Hi everybody, welcome to lesson 4, drawing a Bohr model of the atom. And I'll start with a quick recap. You remember that the atom is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. The protons and neutrons are in the nucleus, and the electrons are zipping around the nucleus in a cloud. We saw on the last video that we can use the periodic table and the numbers on it to figure out how many protons, electrons, and neutrons that an element has. So the atomic number, which is found at the top, tells us the number of protons. It also tells us the number of electrons. And if we want to know the number of neutrons, we just subtract those two numbers. Okay? So I'm going to go over how to draw a Bohr model. I'd like you to write down these steps, and then I'm going to work through some examples. So the steps are, number 1, figure out the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons, which we already know how to do. Second step, you're going to draw a nucleus and put the protons and neutrons inside it. And third step, you're going to put the electrons in shells around the nucleus. And there's some rules to follow with that. So the first example we're going to do is boron. And so if you look at boron, it has an atomic number of 5. So it has 5 protons. It also has 5 electrons. To figure out the neutrons, we subtract. We take 10.8 and we round it to 11, minus 5, we get out our calculator and it equals 6. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is to draw a nucleus and put the protons and neutrons inside it. So we put 5 protons and 6 neutrons. We draw a little nucleus. That's step 2. Step 3 is to put the electrons in shells. So the rules are, the first shell holds 2 electrons, the second shell holds up to 8, but no more, and the third shell holds up to 8. So we have a total of 5 electrons. So imagine you're holding in your hand 5 electrons. The first shell holds 2. So you take 2 of those 5 electrons and you put them in a shell around the nucleus. That's the first shell and it has 2 electrons. Now you started with 5, so that leaves 3 electrons left, and we put them in the next shell because that first shell is full. And we're done. That's a Bohr model for boron. So this outer shell is not full. So this atom is actually sad. Atoms like their outer shell to be full. So here you can see that's a total of 5 electrons, and that's how many. So that's the third step done. So I'm going to work through a couple more examples. Neon, which is on the far right of the periodic table, has an atomic number of 10. So it has 10 protons. It also has 10 electrons. And then to figure out the neutrons, we do a little math. 20 minus 10 equals 10. So we draw the nucleus, 10 protons, 10 neutrons. Here's our nucleus. That's the first step and the second step. The third step is to figure out the electrons. So there's 10 electrons. So we can put 2 in the first shell. It's full now. We started with 10, so now we have 8 left. So we know the second shell can hold up to 8 electrons, so we can put all 8 of those in the next shell. And this time, the outer shell, or the valence shell, is full. And that actually makes this atom very happy. Okay, so we're done. Now let's go on to one more example here. Sodium, Na, number of protons is equal to the atomic number. 11 electrons is 11. The neutrons, we round 22.99 up to 23. Minus 11, we get out our calculator, that's 12. So we draw the nucleus. There would be 11 protons, 12 neutrons, nucleus, and now we have 11 electrons that we have to put in shells. So we've got 11. We'll put 2 in the first shell. We still have 9 left. Started with 11. We put 2. We've got 9. Now the next shell only holds 8. So we'll put 8 electrons there. That shell's now full. But we had 11. So 8 and 2 is 10. So we have 1 electron left, and he moves up to the next shell. You can see that sodium is actually a very large atom because it's got more electron shells. And we can see that this outer valence electron shell is not full. So sodium's not too happy about that. And that's a Bohr model for sodium. Okay, so here's your assignment. It's posted underneath the video. And what you're going to do is exactly what you saw me do. You're going to figure out the number of protons, electrons, and neutrons. You draw a nucleus, put the protons and neutrons in there, and then you're going to take the electrons and fill up the shells one at a time until you've used all your electrons. Thanks for watching.